Hey guys, it's BlockchainBrad, and today I'm very fortunate to speak with two gentlemen I'm familiar with. And to my right, we have a very important person who is the CTO, and that is Matt Moravec. Matt, thank you so much for being on the channel once again.
Thank you.
So on my left, I have the CEO, equally important, and certainly as loquacious as me when it comes to talking about blockchain, and that is David Chin. Dave, thank you so much, mate, for coming back on the channel.
Hi, Brad.
It's great to see you both. So if anyone's not familiar, they represent a very important company. They represent the gig economy, and that is the Thor network, a very impressive and up-and-coming blockchain entity, a force to be reckoned with for sure. So we've spoken recently, guys, at Christmas. We learned a bit about you then. It was exciting. But things have happened. Things have been rolling out in your blockchain. Let's talk about, fundamentally, just for a quick recap, what is the gig economy for a start, and why is it important?
Well, the gig economy is another word for it is the on-demand economy. And basically what people do now is they take, short-term jobs. So the idea is a non-permanent, right? It's a gig, is short-term, is little projects at a time, and people go from job to job to job now. It's not an 8 to 5 for 10 years, for example. So people stitch these jobs together, but one of the main features of a gig economy is that essentially they've stripped out all the benefits, right? The benefits that many full-time employees, workers enjoy. I think that is very unique in the U.S. Where people don't have health care. And so usually they get their health care through the work. And now that has been, through the gig economy now has been eliminated. So one of the tenets, one of the things that we're doing through Thor is that we're going to restore that, right? So that's one of the things, that's one of the major things that people ask for. That's one of the things that we're going to work to get back to the gig worker.
Exactly, Dave. And Matt, it seems like the blockchain's perfectly situated for this. With the flexible nature of this economy, you've also got the smart economy. And then you have Neo on top of that, which is something that you've chosen to, allow your project to underpin, things to come. So let's talk about that in the context of flexibility.
Yeah. So, we want to be a piece of the Neo puzzle, like you said. We have a lot of partnerships coming up within people that are on Neo. And within flexibility, within these contractors, it's much more efficient for the company to directly pay the contractor. Right now, there's like 5 layers, and they all sell your data. They all take a cut.
Yep.
And so for Uber or Lyft to be able to directly pay the contractor when they finish a ride would be a huge boon for both the company and the contractor.
For sure. Well, it's great to hear, a little bit more about that. Just in terms of your buzzwords, let's just quickly recap that so the audience can remind themselves about why Thor is great. So the 3 things that are on your website are job networks, instant pay, and comprehensive benefits. So let's just quickly touch on them a moment, and remind ourselves why you are going to be a force in the blockchain.
Well, the pillars that we rest the company on are the ones that you mentioned. InstaPay. So the idea that the gig workers, they're not flush with cash, right? These are hardworking people. They're working hard, and the idea of getting paid sooner is very, very valuable. So there are people that that actually will pledge your paycheck. There's a whole industry out there called payday loans, where you can actually pledge your pay in advance and get a short-term loan. But another word for these is predatory loans, right? The idea that some of these interest rates are in some states are as high as 500%, right? So these are people that are least able to afford it, but yet they're being taken advantage of. So if we can accelerate the payments, right? So they can actually now literally, as soon as they drop that passenger off at the stop, the $15 that they are owe, now that driver can actually take the debit card and go to the store and buy diapers, for example. So getting paid quickly and so will really help the worker.
Absolutely.
The second is gig means temporary, right? So people are literally looking from one job to the next, and so the idea that we can help them find work quickly, be able to lay out all the information, all the available jobs, for example, will help them immensely.
Absolutely.
The third thing is the retirement planning, right? So the idea is that when you work at a big company, if you work at Exxon, when first day you start, they're going to tell you, they're going to sign you up a retirement plan. Where if you're an independent person, you don't have access to all those things. So we intend to be able to help that person. So if that person gets paid $1,000, for example, for this period, we can help them put away 5%, 10%. Right? The idea that Warren Buffett says you need to save before you spend. Otherwise, if you spend before you save, there's nothing to save. So now we can actually put that, let that person implement that very, very easily. Now the cherry on top is the fourth thing that the gig worker, any worker is asking for is access to health insurance. Mm-hmm. Now, for someone like yourself in Australia, universal health care, for someone in Germany, UK that have government-sponsored health care, it's not a big deal. But in the US, it's huge, right?
It is.
We have 43 million people without health care. So the idea that we can supply that and introduce that, and what's really beautiful about being on a blockchain, right? The question always becomes, why aren't you just a company on the, on the corner or the web base? Is that through the blockchain, we can actually pass on the lowest cost to the driver or to the contractor. And that's very, very unique because if in a regular company, in the old days, right, the old business model, they have to make money. Exactly. So, but through tokenomics, we can actually sustain ourselves through usage, right? Mm-hmm. The more people we have on, the higher the increase in demand for our token. And the idea now, we can actually sustain the company just by usage. So we actually pass on the lowest cost to the client.
Exactly.
Heard of in any industry.
And Dave, what a good encapsulate with those 4 points, because obviously you are, it lends to some of the flexibilities Matt was talking about. But Matt, no doubt, given that there's such a huge number of people who are trying to sort of find their way through the flexibilities of employment right now, we're looking at a very different economic and employment climate, particularly in the US as one example, where people are better suited to this kind of gig economy itself. So how receptive have the community been since we talked at Christmas in terms of the concept, the project itself?
Yeah, so we've gotten so much support. So David has a saying that he says, we're going to do well by doing good. And so these benefits that these freelancers and contractors need, it's a huge boon for everyone, for the companies, for the contractor. It really makes the community feel like, there's going to be this level of support there. Right. And so we heard, we're constantly taking Uber and Lyft rides, and we're talking to the driver on the way home. They always want to follow up. They always are asking us, how can we contact you? Please put us on your list as soon as this product is launched. It's been an incredible journey up to this point, and the response has been overwhelming.
Right, and what about in Silicon Valley as well, Dave? No doubt there are people knocking on your doors from a business perspective, enterprise as well, and also I'm interested in the companies that are currently centralized, who perhaps don't want to miss that blockchain boat.
Right. So the idea is that our tagline is Thor is going to help fix the gig economy. So we're actually focusing initially on the contractors. But what's beautiful about what we're doing is that even the companies look at us as friend versus an enemy. So for example, an on-demand company, they look at us as a contractor acquisition strategy. Right now, Uber, Lyft, they spend upwards of $2,000 in incentive to get a driver to come. Right? So the idea is they'll incentivize a driver $1,200, $1,400 just to try it, so that they can actually keep them on. Right. They'll pay someone $400 or $500 just to introduce that person to Lyft. Right? They'll pay a finder's fee. Right. So when we get to 1 million, 2 million, 5 million contractors, where will these on-demand companies find workers? Through us. So they look at us as a helper, not a threat. Right? We're helping them find contractors. We're centralizing that. On the flip side, we're really a contractor retention strategy for these companies. Because these companies now, they're on in the US, they're euphemistically called 1099, right? They're not employees. They don't enjoy benefits. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that a lot of people need benefits. So, something that I tell a story over and over again because it's very near and dear to my heart is there's a young lady that was a security guard in our building. Mm-hmm. Every day I come in and I say hi to her. And then she tells me one day, oh, Friday's my last day. I'm like, why? You don't like your job? You don't like me, right? So she's like, I love my job, And I go, well, where are you going then? She said, I'm driving for Muni. Muni is the municipal bus system in San Francisco. I said, really going to drive in that mess? She said, yeah, I hate driving. So why are you doing it? Well, she said, I have a 6-year-old daughter. I need benefits. So for someone like Uber or these quote-unquote on-demand companies, so they can rest assured when they, for example, imagine, Uber sends out an email to their 1 million employee contractors and say, hey, you need benefits, just go to Thor, right? So that you can rest easy. And so now they'll have less abandonment of contractors, because now they can be secure. They can do the job so that they feel comfortable with, rather than going to a job that they may not like, but they have benefits.
Now, clearly, you'll be a one-stop shop for benefits, which will be great. If we could talk about now some of the updates in terms of tech. So, Matt, I'm going to go across to you for a moment. How's things been rolling out in terms of your technological advancements? Anything that's been innovative? Obviously, we can even talk about Neo if you want, but there's some key stuff no doubt happening.
Yeah, there's been a lot happening. Since we talked last, the Neo Python compiler and the progress that Tom Saunders has made. Tom is a developer for Next.
Yes.
It's really incredible. So these tools are really coming along. It's an ecosystem that is now much easier to develop in than before. But for us, we're talking about a lot of technology partnerships. So 2 that are currently in the works are, 1, MOONLIGHT. So we are partnering with MOONLIGHT. They have a jobs marketplace. And they want to use us for their benefits portion. So
that's huge. I didn't know that. And I'm speaking with MOONLIGHT very soon, so that's exciting.
Yeah, no, we're super excited to be working with them.
They're also a Neo platform, so it's perfect.
Yeah,
it really is.
We're trying to interface with a lot of the Neo folks. The other one is Next. So Next is going to be a liquidity provider. They're also going to be helping us with some of our payment systems. And so we're going to form a partnership with them. And, it's been really exciting. Fabio and the team, they're really coming along. They have token sale coming out in April.
They do. And Matt, what I like about the way you're approaching this is that you're underplaying it. You really are. Because Next is regarded by Hongfei Da himself as one of the biggest plays this year in 2018. So just to mention that in the context of your own business of Thor is a really serious thing. Perhaps people aren't even aware of the magnitude of that. So what do you say to that, Dave? Are you excited about this kind of partnership?
Oh, we're very excited. When we had our conversation, it really what we're talking about is partnering up, right? So instead of building something that someone else has, we're going to be leaning on them for payments, and they're going to be leaning on us to bring additional business or for additional real users, right? So we feel that Thor, there have been many projects on the protocol layer, right? How to make things more secure, how to make things more faster, right? So there are many of those. There are other ones that are more infrastructure, payments, identity. But we feel that we're one of the few that are actually application, right? What's more important than getting paid, having health insurance, right? Making sure your loved ones are safe in terms of the healthcare. So we will bring customers to Next that have, that building this fabulous payment network. So we're very excited about this partnership.
And what's exciting also is that you're really supporting the philosophies that underpin true blockchain concepts, and that is the decentralized nature. Because obviously Next, if people aren't familiar, is the very fundamental decentralized exchange mechanism. They also have a very exciting off-chain engine that they're going to power up, just as you power up your own gig economy. So it's exciting that there is that mutually beneficial connection that you have.
I think there's a respect in terms of, we've met them, we've interfaced with them for a long time now, so we understand how they work and they understand how we work. So much deeper than just, something on a piece of paper. So we're very excited because now, we're actually developing things together.
Right. I've actually been following your Twitter, and I would encourage people to do so because you can see a trail between Next and Thor if you follow along. And also with relation to just the conferences, the seminars you've been attending. I noticed you were at DevCon recently, the Neo DevCon. How was that experience, Matt?
Oh, it was incredible. So, Da Hongfei, he's so personable and charismatic on stage. So when he came and gave his new vision, I think everyone in the room was listening to his every word. They were on the edge of their seat, and were latching on to the vision that he was presenting. And, I think, even before that, but coming away from that conference, you know that Neo really has a chance to be the #1 blockchain.
Exactly.
And at that conference, we were able to talk to a lot of people about Thor. We actually printed off hard copies of our white paper and brought it to a booth. So we were handing them out and talking to people about what we were trying to build. So we made a lot of really great connections. It was amazing to see how involved the community was there and how supportive of projects within the Neo ecosystem we all are.
Sure.
So,
it's great to hear that.
We got to talk to Jonathan over at Red Pulse. We got to talk to Susan over at QLink. So a lot of these kind of connections you cannot put a value on. It's just interfacing and being able to talk to them. And coming out of that conference, I don't know if you probably have seen it, is this graphic that's been put out by the Neo Council in terms of the essential part of the Neo ecosystem. And we're very proud to be a part of that, in that we're one of the 8 spokes in terms of the Neo ecosystem. So we've worked really hard. We've worked hard at the tech piece. We worked hard at the business piece, and now to see that in fruition has really been wonderful.
Absolutely, Dave. I couldn't agree more that the importance of being inside that integral alliance, that it is becoming the Neo network. If we could talk also just about having gone for the Neo DevCon, you forged those very important relationships. But what is the plan from this in terms of developing further? Are you planning to stay with Neo as the primary one, or are you planning to be more agnostic in the future?
We think there's a long way to go in terms of building out the Neo network. As we may have mentioned earlier, where we actually sponsor Neo meetups here in the Bay Area. We are I think one of the only group that does that. Right. And we have 200 plus engineers that are on our system, and we're having one next week. And so we hope to be, to be the central leader in terms of successful token sale, project on Neo that's solid, rock solid. Right. We intend to be inside the community, and there are a lot of people that come to us and say, how are you doing it? Sure. We've learned a lot of things. We're active learners, and we figure out a lot of things. And
Dave, the reason why I asked is obviously because with every great blockchain, a project or network especially with the one of the scale of Neo, there's always problems that are presented, and certainly Neo have had some recently. But one of the things that Hongfei Da did say on stage was the potential for scalability is immense by 2020. And that's why I ask, is because when you're affiliated directly, as you said, with one of those key spokes in the wheel of the Neo engine, you are going to be part of that potential. You're going to be part of that scalability potential that's coming. And if we have a leader like Hongfei Da suggesting that you can reach 100,000 TPS without sharding, that must be exciting to you, given you need something to really send you into the stratosphere transactionally.
Absolutely. So, with our system, we're going to be sending a lot of payments between people and companies. We're absolutely going to need that scaling. And so to see that as the goal and something that can actually happen on Neo is fundamental to our company's future.
Right. Well, let's talk about now utility and applicability. That's one of the things I do really like about your presentation, is that you really focus on real-world value. So as this rolls out, how quickly are we going to see the utility aspects of your blockchain project?
We talked about the 4 pillars. Yep. We think the quickest one, the one that we can actually make the most impact, is the healthcare piece. So we're deep into discussions. We're actually in very deep discussions and in the later stages with one of the largest, or the largest, sole provider in the country, which represents 13 million users. So we're really close in figuring out how to work with them and be able to offer, health care to, literally. Exactly, it's really huge. And so that's one, right? So the second piece is that we're going to do the payments, right? So the idea of how we do it, we're going to actually spin up quickly. We're going to partner. Eventually, going down the road, we know that we're going to outgrow our partner because in a banking network, it's not that we're going to be a bad customer or that we're not good to work with. We're going to outgrow any one particular organization to be able to support us. So we're actually looking further down the road, say, potentially acquiring a financial institution. So it's one of those things where, we've got plan A, plan B, plan C, and we're really planning deep into, what our needs are and where we intend to take all of this.
Awesome. So with that, with all these plans that are very exciting for the utility and applicability come challenges and hurdles. And no doubt you've had some, like every good blockchain has. So Mac, tell us about, one, and then we'll go across and I'm sure that Dave, you'll tell us some more. But what have been some of the challenges you faced since Christmas?
Yeah, so I'd say that some of the biggest challenges are that, you really have to tie the utility of the token into your user base. So with a token, you have your audience. So for that's the gig workers, and then you have the token that's going to provide utility, and then you have to figure out, how is this going to benefit them? Like why do they want to use this over their million other solutions out there?
Right.
So we spent a lot of time making sure that blockchain really is the tokenomics of the Thor token. And the transfer, the speed, making sure that it gets into their wallet in 14 seconds, neo block time, and making sure that everything is secure, right? So like this product has to compete with web companies that have been around for 20 years, and so it has to be better, not just from within the blockchain ecosystem, but within the entire web internet ecosystem.
Right, because obviously you're competing with those kind of efficiencies. So how is it going in terms of your team and your testing so far?
Yeah, so we hired Leo Rung full time. He's a engineer that came from Splunk. We've made a lot of progress. We're working on the technical white paper. As we form more of these technology partnerships with Next and Moonlight, we're integrating that into our plans for building this token and building the future tests. And so, we've made a lot of really great progress that I'm really excited about.
When we last talked, right? It was Matt and I head down building this and talking to a lot of people and figuring out a business model.
Absolutely.
As we speak today, we're 7. So we're really excited. We brought on excellent people. We brought on Leo, who Matt talked, just indicated. Stanford Computer Science. We brought on a COO, a Chief Operating Officer. Stanford Computer Science, USC Business School, went the consulting route, did a couple of years of that, and did all the strategy for StubHub, which was one of the major companies here in the area, managed and was in charge of contractor acquisition, contractor management, contractor motivation over at Zesty, a contracting company. We have on our staff, on our side of the table now, the ex-CEO, the ex-president, the head of Kaiser Insurance, Kaiser provider here, health insurance in San Francisco. We're so excited. I mean, the ability now to understand, the ability to expand our offering, the ability to reach the people with a valuable solution. It's amazing, all the grounds we've covered, and we're really going to grow in terms of the business offering, because we know that the more we grow, the more people we help, the better it is for everyone.
Absolutely. And what's exciting is that obviously I spoke to both of you gentlemen when it was the very beginnings for your company. In fact, it was probably arguably the earliest stage when many people didn't know about the gig economy. So in that respect, it's quite exciting that you have achieved as much as you have quite seriously until this point, because typically we do tend to speak with blockchains at around the ICO period. So it's kudos to you, it's congratulations also. And it's great to hear that your team is building out. But if we could talk about some of the challenges you've actually faced in this very formative period, Dave. What's one of the big hurdles you found or adversities?
I think the biggest challenge is being explain to people and have them understand the blockchain and the tokenomics. So for example, people don't understand or have a hard time understanding how we can do some of this stuff for free, right? The idea that people always in the traditional business model, you got to make money, you got to make money, you got to make money, right? So the idea of us being able to offer payment systems. So for example, for an on-demand company, they're paying the banks, they're paying somebody, per transaction charge. Right. That's why from an economic standpoint, that's why they don't offer InstaPay, because there's this inertia, there's this blockage, right? Because they have to pay each time they have a transaction. Through the blockchain, we are not constrained, right? We're levitating.
Right.
So that's one. Two, for example, the insurance the health insurance company that we're talking to, they're having a hard time understanding our business model. And that's one of the major impediments, and we think is only going to resolve in our favor, is that they traditionally deal with brokers. And so they're trying to offer the best service and best care at the lowest cost to their clients.
Right.
But what happens is when the lower they get, the higher the brokers mark up to make more money.
I see.
They cannot believe that we can actually pass on the lowest cost to the contractor. They are incredulous, right? So they have to take it back. They have to sleep on it. They have to meditate on it to really understand what we're doing, right?
So just
we can. That's the beauty of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And in context, obviously, one of the things you're raising is lack of education, perhaps of blockchain fundamentals. And so in a nutshell, really, we want to try and use the blockchain to unblock the mental blockages that people have.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
It's so creative. It's so different. It's so different than anything that's out there at the moment. So once we get over that not disbelief, but incredulity.
Yep.
Once we pass that, all bets are off, because then they'll love to work with us, because we can offer the best pricing, the best service, and our mission statements are aligned, because we want to help the gig worker. They want the best healthcare for their subscribers.
Absolutely.
And so we're doing exactly the same thing.
And it also sounds like the time is an issue as well, given that you are one of the initial gig-based projects, gig economy-based projects. That's also a challenge in itself, because, again, you are at the beginnings of a very longitudinal process as we transition from a centralized to a decentralized model that underpins business. So it's exciting. I hear your challenges, but the fact that you're one of the leading gig economy projects is surely something that's exciting for you.
We believe that our fundamentals are correct, right? So the idea is that we can do the best, right, for the lowest cost. How can other people compete with what we're doing?
Right, and it's a great segue in, I suppose, to growth. What's your plan to try and establish some sort of growth in the crypto communities that are really trying to evaluate your company, and also how do you attract more and garner more interest in what is a very fundamentally sentiment-driven market?
Yeah, really, crypto has really only hit maybe 1% of the world's population, right? The amount of people that hold a cryptocurrency at this point is very, very small.
Right.
So our biggest challenge, right, is like trying to get cryptocurrency into many more people's hands. When cryptocurrency goes mainstream, the size of the market's going to be, just massive compared to where we're at right now.
Right.
So, I'm really excited, as we're one of the first actors out there actually trying to use cryptocurrencies in a way that, hits the streets, right? We walk out and everyone out there has like a cryptocurrency wallet. They may not know it's a cryptocurrency because they just get their healthcare through it, and they know that they get paid faster than any other way they have access to. But it's a cryptocurrency. And so, for me, that's really exciting, in that the tech stays at the 1% of us that know about it, that love it, right? Until you have these companies that really take these concepts that are massive and just have immense scale to them and actually bring it down into the ground, take it to the streets, take it to people that are driving your Uber and Lyft cars around, that are building your shelves from
Absolutely. And Matt, the illusions you've both been making, especially from Dave, very strong ones about some of these companies he hasn't actually told me about yet, but no doubt will later, particularly in the healthcare, space. These kind of very prominent companies are also part of that process of, really bringing blockchain to the fore, bringing crypto to the fore in a real-world capacity. As more and more of this rolls out, in relation to your projects, the more we're going to see you taken very seriously in the main, the main arena of business, not just in the periphery of crypto. And that's a very exciting thing, I would imagine, for you both.
Oh, it's amazing. It's with the company that we're in talks with right now, we started at one level, and now we're actually at the vice president, innovation type conversation. So we're reaching the highest levels, and they have authority to make some decisions and act upon that. So we're very excited in terms of people are coming around. It's actually been pretty quickly. I mean, in the crypto world, we want things to happen yesterday, right?
Right.
But a month or two is not so bad.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment. We've talked about the challenges, but what about projections? From your experience in the Silicon Valley, just in terms of general estimations from observation about, let's say the next few years, what are your projections there with this kind of transitioning?
Well, I mean, right? I think you saw in our white paper some of the numbers, right? There are 34 million contract workers here in the U.S., projected to be 43 million by 2020. It's one of these things where as we go through a token sale, we'll have enough resources to add to our tech team, right, to build a proper and a stable and a great product, right, with great UX UI, and then we'll be able to add folks. From a SEO, SEM, from a contractor acquisition standpoint, we'll have a team to be able to make enterprise calls or touches to large companies. But one of these things, as a CEO, we won't stop until we get 10,000, 100,000, a million users on our system, and that's really we're not here for baby steps, right? We're here to
for the long haul.
To really help people because, to be quite honest, right? Our mission, our team's very excited. The more we do, the more people we help. How can you not work long hours for that?
Absolutely. Well, if we could talk now, gentlemen, about one of the things many listeners want to know about, and that is your ICO. We've finally got to the point where we're very close now. And with ICO, the implications there are for money, for dollars, for investment. Let's go there. Let's just unpack this right now. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so we are going to ICO. The date is announced. It's going to be March 12th.
March 12th, okay.
March 12th. March 12th is the day that we're going to be opening the sale. And we are selling 50 million tokens out of a total of 100. And, we're really excited about it. It's we're going to have a very equitable sale in that for the first 24 hours, we're going to cap people at $2,000. So we want a fair token, a fair coin.
Right.
And the first bonus round there is going to be 25%. It's going to go down to 10% after 10 million, and then the last is going to be flat. But after that, we really want the community that's been supporting us so much through our Telegram, near 3,000 people on our Twitter. We want all these people that have been so passionate about our message to be able to participate in the sale.
And Matt, just to interrupt there for a moment, given my own experience having the fortune of talking with many different companies about to ICO or have, is that we often see all kinds of things happening in the space. And one of them, certainly, is that we tend to see some companies, there's monopolies in that sense, where there's, underpinnings of whales, as we've mentioned in the past. Who've really just, driven the market in a direction that's a little bit distasteful, let's say. But then we've also had the counter where we've seen companies like Next really lead equitable ICOs. And it sounds like from what you're saying is you're going in that trend. So that's certainly exciting for the small player in the space who wants to, be a participant.
To be quite honest, it's extra work for us, right? It's something that we actually work towards. It's not something that was easy. So we intend to keep the 24-hour cap low so that more people can come in so that, we're very sensitive. We've heard stories out where, people will say, hey, the whale, the big token buyer, they bought up all the allotment and there are only a small portion of it that we can actually participate in. We want to build a community. We want the support of the community because we value that. We think that's a very, very important aspect to what we're doing.
Right, and let's talk about briefly the KYC AML in terms of the processes and also with bottlenecks, when people are rushing in to, participate. Have you considered those two factors in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've built our process end to end very tight. It's all, we've seen some ICOs and whitelist processes that were not done very well. Being in Silicon Valley, we kind of look at that and go like, well, there's all these tools out there to make sure it goes well. Why didn't they use them? But anyway, our whitelist process is built on Google Cloud with Google security. It's about as secure as it gets when you talk to companies out here. And
obviously, another key date is the 12th of March. Is that correct? And that's when the ICO really kicks into gear.
That's right. And we are committed to the UTC 0. So even though that is going to be a daylight savings time, which caused some translation issues in terms of time. We're committed to Monday, March 12th, 00 on UTC time, right, London time, and we're going to run.
Right, and 50 million tokens up for grabs from that point forth. We hear you, gentlemen, and it is exciting, having spoken to you before, to finally get to this stage where you're going to be unleashing the ICO and really get things moving for your company. So, David Chin, the CEO, it's been a privilege, as always, to speak with you. You're a laugh and a half, but you're also a serious man behind the laugh. Matt Moravec, CTO, very familiar with the tech, very skilled in everything that you do to support your company. It's been a privilege also just to learn more about what you've done since Christmas as well. So thank you on behalf of all the people who wanted to know more about Thor. Is there anything you'd like to finally add from both of you, just, as a final closing point?
I think that the unique thing about what we're offering at Thor is that we're supported by everyone. What's beautiful about what we're doing is that we're supported by the progressives, right? The left of center, where we're actually, Thor is providing a very valuable service to people that need healthcare, to need all these other services. We're also supported by our brethren on the right, the libertarians, the conservatives that says, hey, we're actually providing services to people that are working, right? These are not the lazy. These are not, a lot of times people say, why are we giving stuff away? Well, we're actually helping, right? People that are actually hard workers. So this is, I think, one of the unique times, right, where everybody's coming together and say, yes, let's help Thor help people, because that's that's the mission of that's our mission right now.
Dave, I think someone needs to ask you to go to the commissional hearings for the SEC. I think you'd be a great speaker. They need to hear more people like you. And what about you, Matt? What are you thinking, in terms of one key point to finish off on?
This NEO ecosystem is building. We're going to be hiring at Thor. So if you're a software engineer that's interested in working on blockchain, but specifically blockchain that helps people, please reach out. We have plans we're in talks about a hackathon coming up soon.
Okay, so meetup's coming up. Let's talk about access in terms of how we find out. Your social media conduits, your platforms for information.
Yeah, so Thortoken.com has all of our social media channels. We're on Telegram, we're on Twitter, we have a subreddit, and then we have a meetup. So meetup is City of Zion Neo focused, and that you can find that on our site as well.
Right.
Bay Area Neo meetup.
Sure.
And
probably the best site is to go to Thortoken.com, and then all our channels are listed on the bottom.
Right.
So Telegram, the Twitter, so you can find all that information there.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, thank you very much. Dave, thanks so much for all the information. It's been exciting to hear about your developments. And until next time, hopefully you will have me back on, for more updates later. But yeah, it's been real, it's been exciting, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.